Hello, SAP. We have Dr. Amy Ellis here for our SAP Who's Who's. We're super excited to have you here. And I am the editor of Electronic Communications, Zoe Ross-Nash, and we do this incredible Who's Who with amazing clinicians like you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's jump right in. Can you tell me a little bit more about your educational background and professional experience?
Absolutely. I guess I'll start kind of chronologically. I did most of my kind of earlier years of training up in New York. So I did Hofstra University and then Adelphi University for my bachelor's and my master's, and then took the trip down to Nova Southeastern University, which is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Again, I know you're an alum of the program as well. And so did my PhD down here, focusing on trauma and attachment theory. I went back up north for my internship at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, and then came right back down for my postdoc training at the Renfrew Center. So kind of been all over the place in terms of different places, but I would say the unifying theme is trauma training and education. And then very much so focused on attachment theory, relational patterns, and my big love is evidence-based relationship variables.
Very cool. I also love how you were like, "Oh, this is my internship," as if it wasn't a Harvard affiliate. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna give you.
There are the memes about that, okay? Anybody who goes to Harvard never says Harvard, and I've unfortunately fulfilled that stereotype in this current moment. Thank you for calling me out. I appreciate it.
I'll give you all
Yeah,
of your flowers when needed.
good. I deserve it. Okay.
Okay. Well, then what did inspire you to become a psychologist?
Um, I feel like I know I had kind of written about this beforehand, but it's a very triggering question because I think that we're so conditioned to have this really poignant, reflective, it wasn't about me, it's about everyone else. I had a family member and we hide behind that. But the reality is that I think I went into psychology in the same way that a lot of us did, which was to better understand ourselves and maybe also to understand the people around us, but really to understand ourselves. And I feel like I have to honor that response because for somebody who works from a relational frame, to not insert myself into that reason seems kind of inauthentic. And that's kind of what's carried with me. That's why I continue to do the work that I'm doing. It's so that I can learn more and grow. I don't ever think that we're fully healed or in recovery or we know ourselves. We're just always evolving with that. What I will say is that I never intended to go into trauma. I intended to go into eating disorders, and then stumbled upon it with different mentors and just kind of had that flexibility. And then the reality is I can see now that everything I was doing was around trauma. It's like I was there. Um, but I just find psychology fascinating. I've always just wanted to understand people better and to know why we do what we do. I always ask that question. I always train my students to ask that question, even though we're not supposed to. But I'm very interested in the why of behavior.
Yeah. So even in that answer, you debunked some misconceptions that we have in the field, but I am wondering what are the common misconceptions you get as being in psychotherapy?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, obviously, there's the classic, we can read people's minds, those types of things. But I love, oftentimes people just think that in my role I teach or that I just see people and I just do talk therapy. But really, so much of what psychotherapy is also research, whether that's ingesting research, ingesting and digesting it and making sense out of it. I also have a research lab, and so I do that. I think another misconception is that um, we tend to think that psychology is not a science on par with other sciences. Uh, but also all sciences are just trying to figure it out too. So we have our research that evolves with time. There's just been so many different misconceptions that I think kind of fuel our field, and I guess that stems into part of like my vision, which is I think that we could do more to disseminate accurate information. So like if we know that there are misconceptions out there, what can we do to actually speak to the public and reach them and kind of course correct there?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you sure we can't read people's minds? Because I missed that class in
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've gotten better at it with time. Okay, like there's definitely a synchrony that exists, but no, I haven't figured it out yet.
maybe one day.
I'm gonna compare notes with you. If you,
Sounds great.
yeah, if you've got it figured out, like let's do it.
So then what would you say is the most rewarding part of this work?
For me, it is definitely the relationships. I think being able to carry a piece of whether it's a client or a student or a colleague, being able to carry away like little nuggets from that relationship, ways in which you've helped them, ways in which they've helped you to understand you better. And I like the idea that like my life is fuller because I have more of those little nuggets that I've gotten to like collect. Like I almost like imagine like little rock trinkets or whatever, and you take like a little trinket from each person, and that really folds into like who you are. Um, I often get asked the question of like, why did you go into like LGBTQ affirmative care? Why do you do it like that stuff? And it always comes back to my first client that I ever saw at Trip, the clinic that I direct. Um, and they were a trans man. I was the first person that they told that they were trans and thinking of transitioning. And so it's like that individual has no clue the amount of effect and like weight that that moment between us had on me. Like that literally altered everything that I did career-wise. And so I think it's just so cool that we get to like collect all of these relationship like nuggets and then that informs who we are and transforms who we are. And I love the idea that like people's legacy lives on within us.
Yeah, it's really embodying the idea that our clients impact us just as much as we impact them.
Yes. And it's so bizarre because we preach all the time about being the blank slate and don't let your client, but it's like, no, it's supposed to be impactful. I will seriously lament the I like the day that I walk away and I'm like, oh, I don't even remember that person. I don't even know them. I don't even care about that. Like if that happens to me, I don't know, just like send me off to retirement. I don't put me in the room anymore.
Totally. Probably a sign of some extreme burnout.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So then what would you say is the most unexpected part of your work?
Well, I think with all of those wonderful things comes tremendous power and pressure. And so there is a lot, like there's a lot to caring so much for people and wanting to get so much out of those relationships. So I think I don't know. We talk about self-care, we talk about burnout, but I don't know that I was adequately prepared for like the level of trauma work and how much you will care and how much that will stay with you and wanting to do right by people in their relationships. I think that was unexpected. Oftentimes, like I was taught in training, like, oh, you'll hear some pretty gruesome details and make sure you go home and you drink a cup of tea and relax. And I expected that, and it hasn't been that part. It's been more so the relational part of people who are really tough to build a bond with, who really don't trust easily, and you're working so hard and so steadily at building that trust, or people who maybe trust too much, and you're like, whoa, hold on a second, like, let me pace this for you. And so that level of relational awareness where you're not just in the room with someone, but you're also kind of like outside of yourself and watching the interaction, it's a heavy mental and cognitive load that I don't think I was adequately like thinking of that has required a lot of quick maneuvering with good colleagues, um, good support networks, good training, et cetera. That has kind of helped me counteract that a bit.
Yeah, you're not just handling the content, but you're handling the context and keeping it all
Yes.
together.
Better stated. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's like I thought the content would be the hardest
Yeah.
part, and it's
So,
entirely the context.
yeah, so fair. So with all of this, what is your hope for the field of psychotherapy? Because you do so much incredible work in such different domains as well.
I think really training and education is front and center. Like I'm on the front lines supervising people on a one-on-one level, and I love that trickle down effect of, you know, I supervised you, and so now you go on to supervise other people, and then you, and so like I love that. But also, I have the trauma didactic series, which I think is really important of like giving trauma training that is free and accessible for all mental health professionals. Um, and I love that. So I want to continue to expand that, but maybe into more boot camps and more like certificate programs is something that I've been looking at of like creating a trauma certificate program just to help people, but accessible and affordable. Um, and I think just as much as I want to focus on trauma and training for professionals, it's also increasing accessibility for the public, to my point earlier, and not having there be this like weird hierarchy where we're getting our information from ChatGPT and Wikipedia, but we're also getting our information like straight from the horse's mouth, and not TikTok, not, just like that right triaging of good, solid information. It's in part why I love the SAP bulletin articles is because they're written for professionals, but just as easily for the public as well. And it just creates like really good resources and information. So in short, I know that I just want to kind of do more of that and work from more of a systemic and organizational perspective, really understanding how like the system influences clients.
Yeah, very cool. It seems like you're already doing that for the field.
Trying.
So, I mean, that again answered my question with what are your future plans? But is there
That's it. That's just do more of this, and not burn out in the process, pace myself, enjoy the relationships and cultivate them and not lose sight of them in the process of that.
yeah, how cool that you are already living a career that is aligned with your future plans.
Very much so. Yes. I don't have to do any like wild, crazy movements here.
Yeah, incredible. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any last
Thank
thing
you
that
so
you want to
much.
share?
No, thank you. I love this series. I love everything about it. I will obviously selfishly make a plug right now for
Please.
folks that are, yeah, of course I am going to do it. For folks that are interested in Division 29, I've always found that this was my professional home. And so I love that we do Who's Who, and we can spotlight different folks. So obviously check out other Who's Who columns and that, but I would encourage folks to join the division and make it also their professional home.
Yeah. And as someone who adopted me into the SAP professional home, I've also found a family here, and I would love to see more people as well.
Yes, absolutely. Come join us. Come work for the electronic communications team.
Yes, please. We would
Yep.
love to have you. All right, well, thank you so much, Dr. Ellis. Lovely seeing you.
Thank you, Dr. Ross Nash.